Hey guys, so in this video we're going to set up shooting arrows from the quiver instead of creating infinite number of them like we have it now. And then we're going to display the arrow count on the screen and also what arrow we're currently shooting. And I want to be able to rotate between different types of arrows when we press some button. So there is few different ways we could set it up. One would be just creating extra equipment slot in the player, and that would probably work fine, but then you would have to replace the arrows manually because the functionality for setting it up to be replaced automatically can be quite messy. And since we're trying to keep it simple, we already have a quiver set up that holds all of the arrows, so we can just loop through this quiver and keep the arrow count and then display that on screen. So before we go into creating this, we do have one issue from the previous video because I was rushing by the end to finish it. And now when you shoot arrow and you hit something that has overlap events, like this box, it will give you blood effect. And also sometimes there is an error when you, I think when you kill enemy or when certain condition happens, because we not really checking what we're actually hitting in a base arrow. So if you go to base arrow and on this component begin overlap, we need to stop this collision, attach actor, that's fine, we will keep this, we will keep the active. Before we spawn system add location, which will be the blood splash, we're going to do branch, so B and click. And from the actor that we have hit, we have set it up as a variable, hit actor. So we're going to get it, and we're going to check if it has tag. And this will be enemy, because all of our enemies should have enemy tag. And that will just go to blood splash and apply damage. If it's not an enemy, we will still connect it to delay and destroy actor. And this one we can redirect. There's one way if you also want to be hitting the breakable boxes, because we have set it up on the melee on the line trace, so when we apply the damage, which this thing does the same thing. So if you want to be breaking the boxes as well, you can do or boolean here, or actually we will need to, we don't want to do the blood splash if it's not an enemy. So here we can do, if it's false, we'll connect it and we'll do the same thing. So if hit actor has tag, and on the breakable boxes I got breakables or anything that is breakable, so you should have that tag. If you check your enemy and check enemy BP for tag, you will see that you have enemy. And if you check your breakable box, for me it's wooden crate, and it has the breakables. So in the base arrow, if it's the enemy, it will spawn the blood and apply damage. If it's breakables, it will go to apply damage, and false will still go to this delay. So now, if you play the game, one more thing in a wooden crate, if you actually want to destroy it with the arrow, which probably not all of you want to do that, because the arrow might be quite weak to destroy the box, but whatever you prefer, you need to generate overlap events on the geometry collection. So generate overlap events, otherwise your arrow won't hit it. And then if you play the game, now we shouldn't have a blood splashes on the random objects. This is fine, this is just sticking, as you can see. And then on the enemy we still have the blood splash and it's hitting normally, and on the box we can also break it like that. Alright, so that's all working fine, and now we can set up the arrows. So first thing we want to do is we're going to set up the counting of the arrows when we pick some up. So in the player, let's create a new function, and this one will be update quiver count. So this one will have to have input, so create new input, and this will be arrow class. We just need the class, we don't need the whole item info. And this will be items BP, class reference. So items BP class reference, and this will be for our arrow, and we're also going to set up value which will be integer. So we can add this to our pickup function and then remove function, and it will count depending on that. So first we're going to create map array. So we can promote this arrow class to variable, and this one will be arrow map, and disconnect it or delete it, and then select this, and here we're going to change it to map array. So it will be the type of arrow and then integer, the value of how many we actually have. And now we can count them, or like keep count of them. And what we want to do is get this arrow map. We're going to find it, the arrow that we're adding. If it didn't find the arrow, so this one, if it returned false, that means we haven't added it to map array yet, or we ran out of that arrow, so it's not existing here. So on false, we need to get this arrow map, and we need to add this arrow, and we're going to add 1. Because if we don't have it, that means we are not removing it. We can only add it if we didn't find it, okay? So that won't be removing this arrow because we didn't have it, but if we didn't find it, we will add it to the array. And then on true, we just need to get this arrow map again, and this time we're going to add again this class, but from this find, it will give us the value that we currently have of arrows, and we will add to it this value. So this can be +1 or -1. So if we currently have 10 arrows and we're adding 1, it will be 11, and we will set it to this add. Then if we're adding it, or if we're removing it and suddenly it equals 0, we need to also remove it from the array. So we'll do one more branch, and careful, don't get this value, because if we did this value equals 0, then since we are changing it here to 0, because we just removed one arrow and it's 0 now, the branch, when it reaches this branch here, it would already be -1, because it will count it again. It will find this map array, which will be 0 now, and it will subtract 1 or add 1, subtract 1 basically, so it would be -1. So what we need to do is get this equals 0 from this find and add it here. And then we will just get the arrow map array. So if it equals 0, we can just remove this arrow class. We can get it as variable, so arrow class and true. So we will remove it after. Okay, so that's basic setup for counting the arrows. Now we just need to add it to our pickup and remove functions. So in the pickup, search for pickup item. We're going to do it here in the end. So do one more branch. Somewhere here, we are checking if it's an arrow. So we got this isArrow function, which just currently returns the array that we need to put it on. Either it's quiver or the inventory. Don't know why this is all over the place. Just going to add it here. And I'll change this input as well to inventory type. But then it will also give us the boolean, this one here, if it's an arrow. So we can just promote this to a local variable, and this one will be local isArrow, and set it up before this branch. So both of the sides will eventually get this variable. And then if it is an arrow, get it. And we're going to get our new function, which is update quiver count. And since we're adding here, because it's a pickup function, we will add 1. We can only ever pick up one item, because that's how we set it up. So if we're picking up multiple items somewhere when we're crafting them, it's just looping the pickup item function. So it's always 1. And the arrow class, we do have local item info or the item info, doesn't matter which one, should be both the same. So I'll get the local item info and break it open, and here we have a class that we need to connect, and then go to return node. So we're just adding arrows to this function, and then we need to go to remove item. So search for remove item. I'm going to probably copy this part. Oh, you know what, we'll just do it again. So remove item, here in the end, both of the branches, I'm going to do B. Again, in this function we should be checking if it's an arrow. So here in the beginning we do have is arrow, so just drag from it and promote to variable, local one, local is arrow. Connected. And then we don't have a item info in this one, so I'm also going to just promote it from the get here and promote to local variable, and this one will be local item info. Set it up here, and now if it's an arrow, get it true, we will update arrow, or what was it, quiver count. Here we need to do -1 because we are removing it. We do have a setup quantity here in the remove item, but I think the only place we are using it is when we remove crafting materials. So it doesn't matter because it won't be an arrow. So it won't happen, so don't worry about the quantity. But what we need to do is -1, and class, we do have local item info, get it, break it open, and we'll connect the arrow class. So now we have a map array of all the arrows. As we are picking them up, we also have a quantities. So what we want to do is display it. So let's go to player HUD, blueprints, widgets, player HUD. And here I'm going to create horizontal box so we can move it all together, because there will be image and text, and add it to the canvas panel. And I'm going to make it like, I don't know, 70, so it's like an icon size. And this one will be arrow box, yeah, arrow box, and is variable. And then we're going to add image, which will be the icon of the arrow. So this one I will just select by default to iron arrow, and change this to X and Y 70 and 70 so it fits into this horizontal box. And then we're going to rename this to arrow icon, and also needs to be a variable. And then we're going to add text. So just add text to this box, and this one will be arrow count text and is variable. And this one we can center align vertically, and then maybe just offset it padding left 6 or something, so it's not directly in the icon. And this will just be a count of the arrow, so like something like 50. And that is pretty much it. Now we just can move it somewhere else, so whatever you prefer. You can even give it some background, like wrap it in the border and stuff. I'll just probably place it somewhere in the corner here. I don't have anything else there, so it won't bother me. Maybe a little bit here. And we're going to select this arrow box and turn it off, so visibility will be hidden by default. Compile and save. And only when we equip the bow, we want to actually display it. So in the player, we do have a macros that is play equip weapon montage and play unequipped weapon montage. This is the only place we actually have a switch, so we can set it up inside here. And so go to play equip weapon montage, and we're going to do equals enumerate bow. This is the combat type. So if the combat type equals bow, do branch. Then we're going to get the reference for the player HUD, which we should have in the variables and references. So player HUD reference, we have it since we have created it, and then we can get arrow box and set visibility to visible, because we are equipping bow. And then this will continue to play montage. False will also need to continue to play montage. Don't forget to connect it. And then we copy this whole part, and let's go to that second macro, which is play unequipped weapon montage. And here we will paste it, connect the index. If it equals bow, then it will be hidden. So if you have just removed the bow, we will hide it. False will continue to this one. So now we're not setting the count or anything, it will still be default icon and default count, but we can see if it works. So I'm going to pick up the bow. You don't see it yet in the corner, but when I equip it, you can see I do have arrow counts in the left bottom corner. And then when I hide the bow, straight away it goes away. So that's working fine as intended. And now we just need to set up what arrow we currently have equipped and check the count and so on. So first we're going to create a new function, and this will be in the player. We will do one more function, and this one will be something like get current arrow. Yeah, get current arrow. So as soon as we equip the bow, we will call this. And what we're going to do here is first we need to do one branch and check if we are already equipped arrow before. We will keep it in a variable. So let's create a variable, new one. And this one will be current equipped arrow. And it will be a single variable, and that this will be item. Let's do item info. So we got the icon and everything else. So item info s, and we're going to check it first. So get it, break it open, and check if class is valid. That way we will know if we have already set it. So this won't be set first time. So if we have set it true, we just need to get the actual count of the items. So we're going to get this map array, find this item class, and if it was found, we will do branch. We still need to prevent few issues because we might have thrown away all the arrows and remove them from the arrow map. So even though this current equipped arrow was set to the one that we should have in a map array, it was removed from the map array because we have removed it from the inventory. So we need to check if it was found from the branch. And if it was, we're going to update the count. Best thing would be not just to call the reference from the player HUD and then setting it like that. Let's actually set up event dispatcher and just click on a new one, and this one will be update arrow count. So update arrow count. Here we're going to create new parameter, and this one will be integer, and this one will be just count. So how many we have. And here we will call it. So drag it out and call. So if we have found this, we're going to set it up to this count, and that will update it. We will need to set it up in a player HUD as well. But first, let's finish the false branch here. So here we will have to do one more branch from false, and let's get a quiver. So now basically, if we haven't found the current equipped arrow, we don't have any set, we need to get the quiver and we need to find the first item. But to get the first item, we don't want to just get directly because it can be empty and it will give us some warning. So we need to check if the length of the quiver is greater than 0. And if it is, we will, from the quiver, get a copy of the first one, which will give us the first arrow in the quiver, and we'll set it to this current equipped arrow variable. So current equipped arrow and set. And then also we want to get the count. So we have equipped the bow just now. We have set the new current equipped arrows. So we want to call this event dispatcher update arrow count. We need to find it again. So get map array, copy this part, find it, and find break this open and find this class. And then this will be the count that we need to add to the arrow. And then since we also not updating the icon, what we need to do is now we can get the reference instead of setting up event dispatcher that will also update the icon. We could have done it in the same one, but then every time we update the count, which can be way more often, we will have to update the icon as well. So I don't want to do that. Instead, we will just get that player HUD reference. So where are you? Player HUD in references, player HUD. This time we get the icon, arrow icon. And we're going to set brush from texture. And texture will be from here, item icon. You can hide unconnected pins. Alright, so this will set the current arrow. It will give us the count and it will display it. So we can compile and save and go back to equip weapon montage, this one here. And before we set the visibility to visible, we're going to also call this function that we have just created, which is update, no. Where is the get current arrow? This one here, get current arrow. So now if you play the game, it should give us 0. And the default icon will stay the same probably, or maybe it hides the icon. Let's see what happens. So I equip the golden bow. Arrow count is 50, so that's wrong. So, yeah, right, because we haven't set up the actual event dispatcher here. So in the player HUD, let's go to graph, and here we need to bind it to the player reference. So get the player reference, and we're going to bind event on arrow, update arrow, bind event to update arrow count. Connected here in the end. From the event, drag out, do create. This will create event, and we will create matching event. This one will be update arrow count, and we will get arrow count text, set text, and just convert the count to text. Compile and save, and now it should work. So there we go. I do have a 50 arrows? No, I don't have 50 arrows. Still doesn't seem to work. Set get arrow counts. Okay, so is valid class? No, it's not. False. Is the quiver length? Okay, because it didn't pass this check, so it went to false here. because the length, we didn't have any arrows in the inventory. So if it's the false here, we need to also set the icon to just the default one. So this one, copy it, set brush to texture, and I'll just leave it at iron arrow. That will be my default arrow icon if I have 0, if I don't have any arrows. And then we need to empty this current equipped arrow variable, current equipped arrow, and we need to also call update this call update arrow count, but this time we didn't have any in the inventory, so we can leave it at 0. Okay, now it should work. Let's see. So I update it, equip it, there we go. I got 0 arrows. Now let's add some arrows in the game. So I'll just duplicate this golden bow and do iron arrow, reset the rotation, and just put few of them in here. And then I'll pick up arrow. There is 5. There is one issue that I just remember we might have, and that is when you have the objects that have a very small collision. So someone was asking that they have a problem with the keys falling through the floor, and that is just because it's very small collision and it's moving fast, so it doesn't register in time. If you have that problem, I'll probably have the problem on this arrow. If I start the game a few times, not all of them land correctly. So this time you can see I don't have any arrows in here, so they all fell through the floor. So to fix that quickly, let's go to items, and if you go to key items first, so these ones are all very small, and what you can do is on the mesh you search for CCD and you use CCD. I do have it ticked here, I think I was just testing it out. And then on the interactable items as well, we're going to do it CCD and use CCD, which if you read, it basically calculates the if true continuous collision detection will be used for this component. So it will continually detect the collision, which does have some performance hit, I would say, but then it's not massive, and we're only using it for these items which are movable, so it's fine. And then basically if you try multiple times, your arrows will always hit the floor or the keys and stuff. So use that, and then obviously now if I pick up some arrows and then equip the bow, it will give me count of 3 because that's how many I have in a quiver. So that's fine. Now I want to basically pick up the arrow and also update the count. So what we need to do is back in a player, let's go back to that update quiver function. I have way too many things open again, so close all the tabs, update quiver. And here we will do branch in the end after this remove. So if we are removing it, and it will also go from false here if we are not removing it. And from here we will actually do one more branch, because what we need to check is if we currently have any arrow equipped. So here we didn't find it in the arrow map array, that arrow that we just picked up. But then if our arrow count was 0, we didn't have any arrows, then when we pick up the first arrow, we also want to display it. So what we're going to do is get the current equipped arrow, and we're going to break it open, and we're going to check if the class is valid. That's basically the validity check. Best thing is to just check class. And if it's valid, we won't do anything, but if it's not valid, so if it wasn't set, then we need to set current equipped arrow, and we will set it to the quiver, and get the copy on the first index. This time we don't need to check the length because we have just added the arrow, so there must be at least one. So this won't be an issue. So we'll get it, we'll set it, and then again we need to get the player HUD reference. We will get arrow image, arrow icon, and then we will set brush from texture, and this one will be the arrow from here. So just get it from this variable, so we don't have to do this get again. And then this one will be item icon. Hide it, unconnected pins. And after we have set it, we will go to this branch, which we need to check if the current combat type. I know this is a bit random, but we want to check if we have bow equipped. So if current combat type equals bow and boolean, the arrow class from this function that we have just picked up, which is just get arrow class as a variable, equals the class from the one that we have equipped, so from the current equipped arrow, because we don't need to display or update the count for those ones that we are not showing currently on the screen, only the ones that we currently have. So we need to check if this one, the current arrow, equals the one that we're just picking up or removing, and if it does, then we're going to update the count. So from the event dispatchers, call this update count, and again we need to get this arrow array map, find this arrow class from the input, and give it the count. But what can happen here is we just removed it as well. So in the end, we need to check if this one equals 0, and if it does, what we want to do is call that function, the second one, which is set or get, what is it, get current arrow. So if we call this again, this is basically going to find the next one in the inventory, since we have removed the one that we currently have, or we changed it to 0. So let's say you have one arrow that is currently equipped, you drop it, you suddenly have 0. Then we want to go to the next arrow in the quiver if it exists. So it will get current arrow again. And then I think this is pretty much it for this function. So that will update the quiver count, and then just let me check this get current arrow, and here in the end find set brush from texture. I think this is all good. Let's see. So now if I pick up the bow, I'll pick up like a couple arrows or something. How many I have? 2 arrows. I equip the bow. Now I got 2 arrows, as you can see. If I go to the inventory, I dropped 1, so drop item, I do have 1. I destroy item, I have 0. I pick it up, and it's not picking up correctly, so it's not giving me 1, which it should. So we have forgot something. Let me check in this player. I think it will be this get current arrow. So if it's valid class true, then we find it. But here if we didn't find it, so if we removed it, that's what happens probably, is from false we need to still go to this set and then update it and set brush from texture, because it also needs to reset as well. It basically, if we just changed it to 0, it needs to reset this current equipped arrow, otherwise the order function will think it's valid and stuff like that. I mean, just connect it and you will see how it works. Hopefully that was it. So let's try again. Pick up the bow. I got 3 arrows. Now I'm going to drop all 3. I have 0. If I pick it up, I have 1 now. There we go. 2, 3. So it's working, seems to be working fine. I only have 1 arrow, so I can't show you when we run out. We will just make 1 extra in a second. But first, let's set up function now that will shoot the arrows and prevent us from shooting if we don't have any. So to do that, let's go to player. We need to open the combat graph, and when we start aiming, so on the right mouse button here on top, before we set the action tag to aiming, we need to check if we have arrows. So we need to get current equipped arrow and get arrow map and find in a map this currently equipped one. So break this open, item class, find it, and if it is greater than 0, then we're going to, wait, let me move this around. If it's greater than 0, then we will do branch, bow, connect it here, connect this one here, and if it's true we will go. If it's false, we can play the sound that we have set up for when we can't use the ability. So play sound, I quite like it. So play sound 2D, and I think it's pick up something, pick up object pick up, this one here. So it's kind of like we can't do something. So yeah, this is the setup. So this will prevent us from drawing the arrow if you don't have any. And then when we shoot the arrow, we will go to fire arrow, and in this one we're going to just, maybe we can place it here in the beginning. We just need to do function that will remove the arrow. But our remove function, so if you search for remove item, doesn't take the actual item info, so we can't connect the current arrow. We actually need to know where in the inventory index it is actually located, like created. So what we need to do is create a custom function, and we can call this, so let's go to functions. We can call this like remove arrow or something, remove arrow. And here we need to do quiver, get a quiver. So that will be in the items probably. Yeah, quiver. And we're going to do reverse for each loop, because we don't have any sorting function as of the moment. So we want to always take out from the last of that arrows, so we don't mess it up. So that way, if you're picking up to the last item and removing from the last item, that way the inventory will always be organized no matter what you're doing. So remove from the last one, and then we're going to break this one open and check if this class equals the class from the current equipped arrow. Break this open and this class here, and if it does, so if we have found it in a quiver, we're only checking the class because you should not have, you should not have arrows that are not stacking together. They should not have any different stats or anything. That would just be weird. I haven't seen it in any games that you would have a same arrow with different stats. So that's why checking the class is enough to find it. And then if we have found it, I'm going to call our remove item, not this one, remove item, this one function. And now we have an index because it's this one here, and quantity is 1 because we're shooting one arrow. Does it need to be -1? No, it doesn't. It's 1. And then item type we will change to arrow manually because it's the only arrow. And then we don't want to loop it again, don't want to continue looping, but there is no reverse loop with break. It doesn't exist. So we need to return node, so add return node here, so it returns from this function manually, because otherwise it would just keep looping through it, and if you had multiple stacks it would remove one from each of them. So you need to stop it by return node that will return the function and stop the loop. So compile and save, and now we can connect it in fire arrow. So here we're going to remove arrow after we have fired it. And now I'm thinking, do we need to check if it was 0? No, we don't, because we do have remove item, and that's where it checks the update quiver count. So it's all good. So now pick up the bow. I looted some arrows. So I aim, shoot, I got 2, 1, and 0. And now it stops automatically, even though I'm holding right mouse button, it stops me from aiming. Can't do anything, I can't aim again. But if I pick up arrows, I do have a couple more here, I can aim again and shoot. 1 and 0, there we go. And then I run out again. And now just quickly to show you how we would do with different arrows, if it works. I don't have any different arrows, but I think I created one just for preview. In items, I search for arrow. Yeah, I do have a glowing arrow, but it's only the item BP, it's not the data table, but it's basically just the arrow with a glowing material. So this one here, so I can quickly create a data table entry from it. Maybe you already created different arrows, I didn't. So in the items, where am I? In the data table, structs and DT, items data table, I'm just going to add new one. This one will be glowing arrow. Here, glowing arrow. I mean, I probably won't have this as an item. This is glowing arrow, doesn't really make sense, but it is glowing arrow. Static mesh will just be iron arrow, because I don't have one for glowing arrow, like separate one. Item icon don't have, so just one of these. Max stack 20 or 100 or whatever we're doing for arrows. This is just to test it out. Arrow, skeletal mesh don't need, rarity epic, and base stats we don't need nothing. Weight, drop chance, no, none of these orders matter. And now if I duplicate this one and change it here to glowing arrow, and then do a couple of them, and now where we have our fire arrow, is it in fire arrow? No, it's in spawn arrow. So let's go to spawn arrow function. Here we're just creating iron arrow always. So what we want to do is get current equipped arrow, break it open, and we'll connect the class here. But that is connected the arrow reference. Okay, so this one we created automatically from return value, but it is created as iron arrow BP. So this can be iron arrow BP, it needs to be generic one like items BP. So we can create any arrow. So change it to items BP object reference. Change variable type. That will change it everywhere, hopefully not too many errors. Connect it, yeah, that works. Cool, so now you got the arrow reference from all the different arrows that we're currently equipping. So now if I play the game, pick up all of these arrows, I'll leave just a couple, and then bow, where is my bow? So now you can see I got 5 iron arrows and 3 glowing arrows. So it shows me 5. I shoot them all out. And then it switches to the 3 of the glowing ones that I have. There we go. And it's shooting the glowing arrows. So that's working as intended. Then you run out and you got 0 and it resets the arrows to default icon and you can't shoot anymore. Alright, so this is again getting very long. I thought I'm going to make it in one, but I'll leave it for the next one where we actually swap to different arrows. So when you press the button, you can swap to the next one. And then we also need to set up the effect so you will be able to cause burning with burning arrow And we will add some damage to the arrows as well. So each arrow will have a different damage that we can add on top of our player damage. So I'll see you then. Bye.